The human ship U.S. Horizon hung in orbit around the blue-green planet Veldar, its metal hull gleaming in the light of an unfamiliar sun. Inside the medical bay, Kate Harris checked her supplies for the 5th time that morning. As the ship's chief medical officer, she wanted everything perfect for their first official meeting with the Veldari. Medical Officer Harris, report to Shuttle Bay 3, the intercom announced. Diplomatic team departing in 15 minutes. Kate closed her medical kit with a click and straightened her uniform. This was humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization in the decades since reaching the stars. The Veldari were technologically superior in many ways, but they needed certain rare minerals that humans had discovered in abundance. If all went well, both species would benefit. Nervous? Asked Captain Ethan Moore as Kate entered the shuttle bay. A little, she admitted. 4 years of medical school didn't exactly cover alien physiology. The captain smiled. Just stick to the protocol. Observe, don't interfere. The diplomats will handle the talking. The shuttle ride to the surface was smooth. Kate watched through the viewport as they descended toward the Veldari capital, a sprawling city of curved, pearl-colored structures. The landing pad was crowded with tall, slender aliens with iridescent blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. A group of officials waited as the humans disembarked. The lead Veldari, wearing elaborate silver garments, stepped forward. "I am High Commissioner Drav. Welcome to Veldar." His words came through the translator with only a slight delay. The human ambassador began his prepared speech while Kate observed the gathered aliens. Her medical training had taught her to notice details others might miss. Most Veldari stood tall and proud, their postures perfect. But at the edge of the landing area, partially hidden behind a pillar, was a smaller figure. It was a young female Veldari, Kate guessed. She was thinner than the others, her skin a paler shade of blue. Even from a distance, Kate could see the slight tremor in her hands and the way she leaned against the pillar for support. The diplomatic party moved inside a large building for the formal reception. Kate followed, but kept glancing back at the young Veldari, who struggled to keep up with the group. No one offered to help her. In fact, the other Veldari seemed to deliberately maintain distance from her. During the reception, Kate managed to position herself near the young alien. Up close, the signs were unmistakable: labored breathing, elevated temperature visible as a slight glow beneath the skin, and periodic muscle spasms. "You're ill," Kate said quietly when no others were nearby. The young Veldari looked startled. "You notice me? I'm a doctor, a healer. My name is Kate. I am Zira." Her voice was soft. "But you should not speak to me. I am defective." Before Kate could respond, a tall Veldari official appeared beside them. "Medical Officer Harris," he said coldly. "I am Krell, head of security. I see you've discovered our burden." "She needs medical attention," Kate said. Krell made a dismissive gesture. "The weak do not merit resources. This is our way. Please rejoin your group." Kate reluctantly moved away, but throughout the ceremony that followed, she couldn't stop watching Zira, who stood alone, occasionally pressing a hand to her chest as if in pain. Later, back on the shuttle, Kate approached Captain Moore. "Sir, there's a sick Veldari girl down there. No one's helping her." The captain frowned. "Dr. Harris, I understand your concern, but we can't interfere with their cultural practices. The diplomatic stakes are too high." "But sir—" "That's an order, Doctor. We need this alliance." Kate nodded stiffly, but as the shuttle lifted off, she made a decision. Tomorrow she would find a way to speak with Zira again. Her oath as a doctor didn't stop at the boundaries of human skin. Someone needed help, and Kate Harris had never been good at looking the other way. The next morning, Kate waited until the main diplomatic team left for their scheduled meetings before slipping away. She had studied the layout of the Veldari reception building and knew there was a small garden area where she had spotted Zira sitting alone the previous day. Her medical kit hung at her side as she walked quickly through the polished hallways. A few Velderi officials gave her curious glances, but no one stopped her. Kate found Zira exactly where she expected, sitting on a stone bench beneath a tree with purple leaves. "Hello again," Kate said softly, approaching slowly. Zira looked up, surprise in her large eyes. "The human healer. You should not be here. I wanted to check on you." Kate sat down beside her, noticing how Zira shifted slightly away. "I'm worried about your health." "Why? I am not of your kind." Kate smiled. "That doesn't matter to me. Helping others is what I do." She opened her medical kit and took out a small device. "This won't hurt. It just reads your vital signs." Zira hesitated, then nodded. Kate held the scanner near the young alien's arm, watching as the readings appeared on the screen. Many were unfamiliar, but the pattern of irregular energy signatures was clear enough. "Your cells aren't processing energy correctly," Kate said. "Is this common among your people?" "It is a genetic flaw," Zira explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "Some Velderi are born this way. We are considered unworthy of resources." Kate frowned. "But surely there's treatment. Our medical science focuses on the strong. My father is a leading scientist, but when I showed signs of the weakness, he followed tradition and removed me from his household." Zira's voice held no self-pity, just a matter-of-fact acceptance that made Kate's heart ache. "Who takes care of you?" "No one. I am permitted to exist on the margins. I find food where I can. Sometimes I listen to scientific discussions from hiding places. I have learned much this way, though no one knows." Before Kate could respond, a shadow fell across them. She looked up to see the security official, Krell, standing over them with 2 guards. "Medical Officer Harris," he said sternly, "your presence was not authorized in this area." Kate stood up. "I'm just talking with Zira." "The defective one has no name among us," Krell said, "and you are interfering with our ways. I'm a doctor. I can't ignore someone who needs help." Krell's expression hardened. "Your diplomatic team has been informed of your wandering. Return to your group immediately." Kate reluctantly packed up her scanner, but before leaving, she pressed a small device into Zira's hand. "This monitors your condition. Keep it with you." Back at the main reception hall, Alan Palmer, the ship's xenobiologist, pulled her aside. "What were you thinking, Kate?" "The captain is furious. I was examining a sick girl. That's my job." Alan ran a hand through his sandy hair. "Look, I get it, but the Velderi have strict rules about their hierarchy. The weak are left to fend for themselves. It's how they've evolved as a species. It's cruel," Kate argued. "It's their way, and we need this alliance." Alan lowered his voice. "But if you're serious about helping, I might be able to analyze whatever data you collected. Unofficially, of course." Later, aboard the U.S. Horizon, Captain Moore confronted Kate in the medical bay. "Dr. Harris, your actions today jeopardized our entire mission." "With all due respect, sir, I took an oath to help those in need." The captain's expression softened slightly. "Kate, I understand your feelings, but we're guests here. We can't impose our values on an alien culture, even when those values involve basic compassion." Moore sighed. "The Velderi ambassador has formally requested that you limit your activities to official functions only." "That's an order, Doctor." After he left, Kate stared at the data from her scanner. The monitor she had given Zira was transmitting steady readings to her tablet. The girl's condition was worse than she had initially thought. Without treatment, Zira might only have months to live. Kate made her decision. Order or no order, she wasn't going to let that happen. Kate spent the next 3 days attending official functions while secretly monitoring Zira's condition through her device. The readings were getting worse. On the 4th morning, an alert woke her from sleep. Zira's vital signs were dropping rapidly. Without hesitation, Kate packed her medical kit and headed for the shuttle bay. She found Alan Palmer already there, loading equipment. "I figured you'd come," he said. "I've been analyzing her readings too." "You're going to help me?" Kate asked, surprised. Alan shrugged. Someone has to make sure you don't cause an interplanetary incident. I brought portable lab equipment to run more tests. They took the smallest shuttle, hoping to attract less attention. As they approached the landing pad, Kate noticed it was nearly empty. Where is everyone? There's some kind of ceremony at the main hall today. Good timing for us. They found Zira behind the gardens, huddled in a small alcove that seemed to serve as her shelter. Her blue skin had turned almost gray, and she trembled uncontrollably. Zira, Kate said gently, kneeling beside her. We're here to help you. The alien girl looked up with cloudy eyes. You came back. It is forbidden. I'm not very good at following rules that don't make sense, Kate said as she began scanning Zira's body. This is Alan. He knows about alien biology. Alan set up his equipment and took samples of Zira's skin cells. This genetic disorder is fascinating, he muttered. Her cells can't process energy correctly, but there's something else happening too. While Alan worked, Kate gave Zira a nutrient injection specially formulated for her biology. Some color returned to her skin. Why do you help me? Zira asked weakly. Your people need the alliance with mine. Kate adjusted the thermal blanket she'd wrapped around Zira. Because where I come from, every life has value. Even defective ones. You're not defective, Zira. You're just sick. And we treat the sick. Alan looked up from his equipment. Kate, you need to see this. He showed her a screen with complex patterns. Her DNA is unusual even for a Veldari. There's a sequence here that I've never seen before. Zira struggled to sit up. My father once said similar things before he abandoned me. He called it a mutation. Not just any mutation, Alan said, excitement in his voice. This could actually be beneficial in some ways, if the energy processing issue didn't interfere. A shadow suddenly fell across them. Kate looked up to see 4 Veldari officials, including Krell, surrounding them. This intrusion is unacceptable, Krell said coldly. You were warned, Medical Officer Harris. Kate stood protectively in front of Zira. She needs medical care. She's dying. That is the natural order, another official said. The weak do not survive. Take them to the detention center, Krell ordered. The diplomatic council will decide their punishment. 2 guards moved forward, but stopped when a new voice spoke. Wait. A tall, distinguished Veldari stepped into the alcove. His robes marked him as someone of high rank. Chief Scientist Threen, Krell said, bowing slightly. This does not concern you. It does, the scientist said, looking at Zira with an unreadable expression. This defective one was once my daughter. Zira looked up, her eyes wide. Father. Threen did not acknowledge her directly. Instead, he addressed Kate. Why do you risk so much for one who offers you nothing in return? Because it's the right thing to do, Kate replied simply. Interesting. Threen turned to Krell. I will take responsibility for these humans. Bring them and the defective one to my laboratory. But protocol, Krell began, has exceptions, Threen finished firmly. Or would you question my authority? Krell stepped back. No, Chief Scientist. As they were led away, Alan whispered to Kate, what just happened? Kate looked at Zira, who seemed as confused as they were. I'm not sure. But I think we might have found an ally. Or something else entirely, she thought, watching Threen walk ahead without once looking back at his daughter. Chief Scientist Threen's laboratory was vast and filled with equipment Kate had never seen before. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and strange machines hummed quietly in the background. Zira was placed on an examination table in the center of the room. Your captain has been informed of your location, Threen said, his back to them as he studied a screen. He is not pleased. I'm sure he isn't, Kate replied, staying close to Zira. But I couldn't let her die. Threen turned to face them. His eyes, larger than most Veldari, studied Kate with cold curiosity. You humans puzzle me. You expend resources on those who cannot contribute. We call it compassion, Kate said. A weakness in our view. Threen moved to the table where Zira lay. For the first time, he looked directly at his daughter. Yet here you are, still living despite the odds. Zira met his gaze. I learned to survive alone. Yes. Something flickered in Threen's expression. You always were determined. Alan cleared his throat. Sir, your daughter has an unusual genetic mutation that might actually be beneficial if her energy processing issue could be fixed. Threen nodded. I am aware. It was why I hesitated to follow protocol when she first showed signs of weakness. He paused. But our ways are clear. Kate stepped forward. Your ways are wrong. She's your daughter. Dr. Harris, Captain Moore's voice boomed as he entered the laboratory with 2 security officers. You violated direct orders and created a diplomatic incident. Captain, Kate began, but Moore cut her off. Not now. We've been ordered to return to the ship immediately. He looked at Threen. My sincere apologies for this intrusion, Chief Scientist. No apology needed, Threen said. In fact, I request that your medical officer and xenobiologist remain. Their perspective is useful. Moore looked stunned. I don't understand. Nor do I. Fully, Threen admitted. But I wish to continue observing their methods. He gestured to Zira. The defective one can serve as a test subject. Kate clenched her fists. She's not a test subject. She's a person who needs help. And you wish to provide this help? Threen asked. Yes, of course. Then you may do so. Here, under my supervision. Captain Moore pulled Kate aside. This is unexpected, but it might salvage our mission. Don't make things worse. After the captain left, Threen provided Kate and Alan with access to Veldari medical technology. As they worked, Kate noticed Threen watching Zira when he thought no one was looking. There was something in his gaze that didn't match his cold words. By evening, they had developed a potential treatment. Kate explained it to Zira, who listened with surprising understanding. This might stabilize your cellular energy processing, Kate said, but it's experimental. I trust you, Zira said simply. As Kate prepared the injection, Zira suddenly spoke to her father. You kept my research notes. Threen stiffened. What? On your screen. Those are my calculations from before I was sent away. Kate and Alan exchanged glances. Threen's face remained impassive, but he did not deny it. You were 12 cycles old, he said finally. The concepts were advanced. I continued my work, even after. When no one was watching, I used public terminals. For a moment, silence filled the laboratory. Then Threen moved to another console and brought up a complex series of equations. These are flawed, he said, pointing to the screen. Zira studied them, then nodded. The third variable should factor in quantum fluctuations. Yes. For the first time, a hint of something like pride crossed Threen's face. Precisely. Kate cleared her throat. We're ready to begin the treatment. As she administered the injection, Kate wondered about the strange interaction she had just witnessed. Something was happening beneath the surface, something that made her think there was more to Veldari society, and to Threen, than she had been led to believe. The treatment seemed to work at first. Zira's color improved, and the readings on Kate's medical scanner showed her cells beginning to process energy more efficiently. But 12 hours later, everything changed. Her body is rejecting the treatment, Kate said, working frantically at Threen's laboratory. Her temperature is rising, and her organ systems are starting to fail. Alan checked his own readings and shook his head. There's something in Veldari physiology we're missing. The treatment is causing some kind of chain reaction. Zira lay on the examination table, her breathing shallow. Her skin had taken on a dull gray color, with alarming purple spots appearing across her chest and neck. Father, she whispered, her voice barely audible. The Caridium element. It might work. Threen, who had been watching from across the room, moved closer. Caridium is extremely rare and restricted. The council would never approve its use for this purpose. Kate looked up from her scanner. What is Caridium? An element unique to our planet, Threen explained. It has unusual properties that affect cellular structures. Will it help her? Kate demanded. Threen hesitated. Possibly. But using it would violate our highest laws. She's dying. Kate's voice rose in frustration. Don't you care at all? Something flashed in Threen's eyes. You do not understand our ways, human. Individual attachments are considered a weakness among the Veldari. Then why did you keep her research notes? Alan asked quietly. Why allow us to treat her at all? Before Threen could answer, the laboratory doors slid open. Krell entered with 4 armed guards. Chief Scientist, the High Council demands an update on the humans' activities. His gaze fell on Zira. The defective one should have been removed by now. I am conducting an important experiment, Threen said coldly. Return to the council and inform them I will report when I am ready. Krell did not move. I have direct orders. Our surveillance systems detected unauthorized communication from your laboratory to the human ship. The council fears you have been compromised. Kate and Alan exchanged alarmed glances. They had indeed sent updates to Captain Moore, but had thought the transmission secure. This experiment is now terminated, Krell announced. The humans will return to their ship. The defective one will be processed according to protocol. Processed? Kate asked, stepping between the guards and Zira. Removed from our society, Krell said without emotion. Her genetic material will be studied to prevent similar defects in future generations. Kate's face paled. You're going to kill her. For the greater good, Krell confirmed. No. The word came not from Kate or Alan, but from Threen. All eyes turned to him. Chief Scientist. Krell seemed confused. I said no. Threen moved to stand beside Kate. This experiment continues under my authority. Krell's expression hardened. Then you are indeed compromised. The Council suspected as much when we discovered your secret communications with other scientists about reforming our genetic purity laws. One of the guards raised a weapon. Kate reached for her medical kit, though she knew it would offer little protection. Suddenly, the lights in the laboratory flickered. A moment later, Captain Moore's voice came over the communication system. Attention Veldari security forces. This is Captain Ethan Moore of the U.S. Horizon. We have detected weapons being drawn in Chief Scientist Threen's laboratory. Be advised that we have locked targeting systems on your position. Krell looked up in alarm. This is a violation of our agreement. So is threatening my crew, Moore's voice replied calmly. I suggest everyone lower their weapons while we discuss this situation diplomatically. The guards hesitated, looking to Krell for direction. In that moment of uncertainty, Threen moved swiftly to a locked cabinet and removed a small glowing container. The Caridium, he whispered to Kate. Use it quickly. Kate took the container with trembling hands, suddenly understanding that much more than one alien girl's life hung in the balance. The standoff in the laboratory remained tense. Krell and his guards stood with weapons ready while Captain Moore's voice continued from the communication system. I'm sending down a security team, Moore announced. Any harm to my people will be considered an act of aggression. Kate barely heard the exchange. She focused entirely on the small container Threen had passed to her. Inside was a glowing blue crystal that seemed to pulse with its own light. How do I use it? She whispered to Threen. Dissolve a small fragment in the base solution of your treatment, he replied quietly. Too much will kill her. Too little will have no effect. Kate nodded and carefully opened her medical kit, while Alan positioned himself to block Krell's view of what she was doing. This is a violation of our highest laws, Krell declared. The use of Caridium for a defective one is forbidden. Perhaps our laws need to change, Threen said. His voice carried through the room, stronger than Kate had heard before. For too long we have wasted potential in the name of genetic purity. You speak treason, Krell hissed. I speak truth, Threen countered. My daughter is not merely defective. Her mutation carries potential we have ignored. Kate's hands froze for a moment. It was the first time Threen had openly acknowledged Zira as his daughter. Using small medical tools, Kate carefully broke off a tiny piece of the crystal and added it to the treatment formula. The liquid immediately began to glow with the same blue light. "Ready," she whispered to Alan. On the examination table, Zira's condition was deteriorating rapidly. The purple spots had spread across her entire body, and her breathing was now irregular. "We don't have much time," Kate said louder, no longer caring if Krell heard. "You will not proceed," Krell ordered, stepping forward with his weapon raised. The doors to the laboratory slid open again. Everyone turned to see a group of younger Veldari enter, led by a female in scientific robes. "Chief Scientist Threen," she said, ignoring Krell. "We received your signal and came as quickly as possible." "Mira," Threen acknowledged. "You risk much by coming." "As do you," she replied. "But many of us have questioned our ways in secret. It is time to speak openly." Krell looked from Threen to the newcomers. "You are all traitors to our traditions." "No," Mira said firmly. "We are the future of Veldar. A future that values all life, not just the genetically perfect." While they argued, Kate quickly injected the modified treatment into Zira's arm. For several tense seconds, nothing happened. Then the blue glow of the Chiridium began to spread through Zira's veins, visible beneath her thin skin. The purple spots slowly faded. Zira's breathing steadied. Her eyes fluttered open, clearer than before. "It's working," Alan whispered, checking his scanner. Kate watched in amazement as Zira's readings stabilized. The Chiridium was doing more than treating her symptoms. It was somehow repairing the genetic flaw itself. Zira sat up slowly, looking around the room at the standoff before her. Her gaze settled on her father. "You chose to help me," she said softly. Threen stepped closer to the table. "I should have done so long ago." The laboratory doors opened once more as human security officers entered, led by a stern-faced woman Kate recognized as Security Chief Pat Benson from the U.S. Horizon. "Captain Moore sent us to ensure your safety," Benson announced, surveying the scene. "We have a situation here." Before anyone could answer, Zira stood from the examination table. Her movements were steady, her color normal. The transformation was remarkable. "The situation," she said in a clear voice that commanded attention, "is that Veldari society stands at a crossroads, and I believe I can help guide the way forward." Everyone stared at her, even Krell. There was something different about her now, a presence that hadn't been there before. The Chiridium hadn't just healed her body, it had awakened something more. Kate watched in wonder, realizing that the simple act of helping one sick girl might change an entire civilization. 1 week later, Kate stood in the grand meeting hall of the Veldari High Council. The huge circular room was filled with Veldari officials on one side and human diplomats on the other. At the center stood Zira, no longer weak or hidden, but tall and confident. "The Chiridium treatment did more than heal her genetic disorder," Alan whispered to Kate. "It somehow enhanced the positive aspects of her mutation. Her brain function is off the charts." Kate nodded. In the days since Zira's recovery, tests had revealed that her unique genetic structure, once stabilized by the Chiridium, gave her extraordinary mental abilities. She could process complex calculations faster than any computer and had perfect recall of everything she had ever observed or read. "My people have lived by the principle that only the strong deserve to survive," Zira addressed the council, her voice clear and steady. "But strength comes in many forms. The illness that made me physically weak forced my mind to develop in ways yours did not." The head counselor, an elderly Veldari, leaned forward. "You claim your defect is actually beneficial." "I claim that diversity strengthens us all," Zira replied. "My father understood this before anyone else." All eyes turned to Threen, who stood nearby. In the days since the confrontation in his laboratory, he had faced criticism from traditionalists, but also gained support from younger Veldari. I hid my doubts behind our traditions for too long, Threen admitted. When my daughter first showed signs of the genetic variants, I followed protocol and sent her away. It was the greatest mistake of my life. Krell, who had been temporarily removed from his security position, rose to speak. These ideas threaten everything we have built. Our genetic purity laws have kept our species strong for generations. Strong but stagnant, countered Mira, who now represented the growing movement of reform-minded scientists. We have stopped evolving. Captain Moore stepped forward from the human delegation. On Earth, we once had similar beliefs about genetic purity. Those ideas led to some of the darkest chapters in our history. The debate continued for hours. Kate watched with growing hope as more Veldari spoke in favor of change than she had expected. Zira's remarkable abilities were hard to dismiss, even for the traditionalists. Finally, the head counselor called for silence. We have heard enough. A vote will be taken on the proposal to reform our genetic protocols. The room grew quiet as the counselors cast their votes. When the results appeared on the large screen, gasps filled the room. By a narrow margin, the reforms had passed. Beginning today, the head counselor announced, all Veldari citizens will receive medical care regardless of genetic status, and a new research initiative will study genetic variations for potential benefits, led by Chief Scientist Threen and his daughter. Outside the council hall later that day, Kate found Zira looking up at the sky. What will you do now? Kate asked. Help others like me, Zira replied. There are many hidden throughout our society who have suffered in silence. Threen approached them, still formal but with obvious pride in his bearing. The council has approved a joint medical program with humans. We have much to learn from each other. Kate smiled. I'd like to be part of that program, if Captain Moore approves. He already has, Threen said. Your actions, while initially disruptive, have proven beneficial for both our peoples. As Kate prepared to return to the U.S. horizon that evening, Zira came to say goodbye. You risked everything to help someone you didn't know, from a world not your own, Zira said. Why? Kate thought for a moment. Because that's what being human means to me, seeing value in all life, not just those who look or think like us. Zira nodded. I hope to visit Earth someday and learn more about your people. You'll be welcome there, Kate promised. As the shuttle lifted off, Kate watched the Veldari city grow smaller below. Near the medical center, she could see a small crowd gathering. Veldari bringing their sick and injured for treatment without shame. Change would not come overnight, but it had begun. All because one human medic couldn't look away from an alien girl in need.